Welcome to Legend Makers, the podcast where education's true heroes take center stage.
Shine like a ray from the sun. There's something people look for but never can find.
And we are back with the Legend Makers podcast. It has been a couple of weeks. I've been traveling. So today I'm excited to welcome Patty Maffei to the Legend Makers podcast. Patty, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. So wait, you're calling from Texas. You're in Austin?
Correct. Right out of Austin.
Yeah. You're at the Real Learning Academy. So tell us about the Real Learning Academy. What do you do there and your grade levels and all?
Sure. So Real Learning Academy is part of the Wayside School System. We're a public charter school. I'm currently an interventionist, reading and math at elementary level. But I have taught in second, third, fourth, and fifth science and math.
You have.
And this is my 8th year in education.
So you're currently teaching, I'm sorry, you said third and fourth?
No, so right now I'm an interventionist. So it is all grade levels. Mm-hmm.
All grade levels. So interventionist at all grade levels. And you said reading and math? Or did I get that right? Okay, I didn't get that wrong. So all levels, interventionist. You're at the charter school system there, Real Learning Academy. How long have you been here?
8 years.
8 years. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So I always start this. So you and I were talking a little bit about it. You teased me a little bit with this wasn't always my career. So you've been there 8 years. Were you teaching prior to this, or is this your first teaching location?
No. So I was like the kid that grew up who always wanted to be a teacher. So, I played school during the summer, stayed in from recess to help the teacher, the teacher pet type of thing. I was that person. But a whole lot of life happened and I didn't take a traditional pathway to get here.
Okay.
And fast forward many, many years, I had an opportunity to substitute teach for my daughter's elementary school. And immediately I knew this is where I was supposed to be. This is where I should have gone, from day one.
From the start.
Yes. And the principal there really encouraged me to go back to school. And she saw the passion that I had and said, hey, this is, cross the line. And I was like, no, I'm too old. I had a son that was already in college. That was for him to do. Wow. And then I thought about it and said, well, I'm smarter than him. If he can do it, I can do it.
Now, is your son going to school to be a teacher?
No, he's
okay.
Yeah, he's way older in his own career now.
Okay. But he's not a teacher.
No, he's not.
Okay.
But for a while we did go to college together. So that was
that's pretty cool. Fun. Oh, wow. Really? How was that? Did you meet each other in the halls? You could turn on your light. There you go.
We would meet up for lunch and things like that.
You have lunch? How cool was that? I would kind of enjoy that. I don't know if my 19-year-old son would like that too much. He'd be like, get away, Dad. No, because I think he works at a restaurant.
Really encouraging. He was like, you could do this, Mom, that kind of thing. And
that's
really,
great. Really good for him.
That part. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. When you went to substitute, were you just able to just kind of step in and be a substitute teacher without any background training or anything? Did they just kind of invite you in, or had you have some training?
I had an associate degree already, so it did require, an associate degree. So I did have that. And then I had volunteered at church, groups and camps and that sort of thing. So I already had several years experience working with children.
Okay.
So
okay, good.
That's what got me into the substitute. And then there was some training, with classroom management and the rules and those sorts of things. To get in as a substitute. And I just would pick up assignments, here and there.
That's great.
My very first assignment was in a kindergarten class. And I thought, oh, this is it. This is where I belong. And when I became a classroom teacher, I actually don't go below second grade. I I gravitate towards the upper.
Really? But you saw the kindergarten, you were like, this is it. But now you're up towards the upper end of that.
Yes.
But 6, 7. Yeah. So you said you always wanted to be a teacher. What was it about? Why? Do you know why that is? I mean, maybe can you?
I really looked up to several of my teachers. I can remember several of them that had an impact. I have this story. It's a little embarrassing, but I had this one teacher who she just looked so glamorous to me. This is when teachers age myself a little. This is in the 80s. Okay. So they
Okay.
still wore high heels and dresses and full makeup and that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
And I just
Yeah.
thought, wow, she is so glamorous.
Wow. So
And it was
teacher was
really,
the glamour and you were like, I want
yes,
to be like
I
her.
want to be like her. And they were so
Oh,
organized, that sort of thing. And it was just my personality. I was like, whoa, this is me. This is
wow.
this is where I belong. And every year I would get a different teacher and there would be some characteristic about them, something about them that, shaped who I would be as a teacher. This is who, I just admired their style or something
Mm,
about them, connected me. And I
yeah.
was, you know,
And
and I did in those first years in substituting, I really modeled a lot of the behavior
I was going to
from that.
say, what particularly did you bring into your teaching style? I mean, you talked about organization, you talked about style.
Mhm.
What else was it that you brought in that you think you carried with you, you learned from those teachers that you now implement, and to even to this day, probably?
A lot of the classroom management, the old school style of classroom management. But I will have to say, I think being a parent, so I have 5 children,
Oh, you
and
do?
being
Okay.
a parent um, really came in handy in the classroom management part of things and connecting with children and that sort of thing. So I do think that I, along with those things from when I was younger, like, oh, I'm gonna not be strict. Okay, I'm gonna, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Um, but then also having, entering education
Mm,
later in life, I had so much more experience. I wasn't
true.
fresh out of college now having, 27-year-olds or that sort of thing. I had
Right.
already raised, so many of my own children, kind of
You
better
brought
prepared.
that you
Mhm.
brought that parenting into the classroom. You were,
Yes.
and that I think that's true. It's something I've never really even thought about is, I always think of new teachers as being, you know, no children at home yet, or, early on, right? But yeah, you're right. You had 5 children, you said, and all five, and then you went to teach.
Correct.
Wow. So you had raised 5 kids. That's impressive right there. And
So my background was in banking, finance, investments, accounting, bookkeeping. All of that was my background. That's what I did, through
really,
my 20s and 30s. That's mortgage lending and all. And I still have a passion for numbers,
yeah.
because of that.
Uh-huh.
And why I gravitate towards the math and
The
science
math side. Right.
side
Yeah.
of things.
Wow.
Yes. And so
But you,
then I did all of that, then went into teaching. And the thing about it is I was substitute teaching because my 2 girls were still in elementary school, and I was fortunate enough to be a stay-at-home mom when they were younger. I didn't wanna go back to corporate world. I knew the long
mm-hmm.
hours, especially in that finance world,
Yeah, for
and I didn't
sure.
wanna return to that, so teaching kinda gave me that opportunity to go back to work because they didn't need me anymore. They were growing up,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the 3 older ones were already out of the home, so just had the 2 younger ones.
Mm,
And the teacher schedule just allowed me to still have the time with them, and because I was teaching in their school, I saw them every day.
that's great. That's
Still
great.
still was able to watch and be a part of all of their growing up, and that's
Nice.
ultimately
It's
how
big.
why I went back too. It was just timing. It's perfect timing.
Timing was right. And what do you love about teaching? What do you, or let me ask you this. Yeah. Like, I'm sure it's different today than it was when you first started out. I think things have
Yes,
changed. So
very
what,
much.
what do you love? What do you still love about teaching? Let's just start there. Like, I'm going to kind of tease you on what's maybe changed that you don't like so much, but let's start with like, what do you love about it? Like, I mean, you said, so you were inspired, the style, the organization, the kind of the 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 figurehead of being a teacher kind of inspired you. And now, after having worked with, I'm sure, hundreds of kids over your, what do you love about the teaching profession? Like,
I just love that there's just one person, one I've had an impact on at least one person. I
mhm,
mean, I'm sure it's been more, but every single day I think about that the same impact that a teacher has had on me, I'm now impacting,
yeah,
others. And to me, that's just exciting because I'm not going to ever know who or I every day in the classroom, anything and everything that I say could change the direction of
Mhm.
one or more students. And to me, that's really exciting to know that, wow, later on, there's going to be someone like me who goes, I remember that
Yeah.
one teacher
Yeah.
that said or that believed in or taught me, especially teaching at the second and third grade level. There's so much that changes academically for them. There's some big jumps and big growths that happen in that uh,
Mhm. Mhm.
age time. And I think,
Oh yeah,
wow,
for sure.
even something as simple as like tying shoes. Like
Tying
I remember
shoes.
the teacher that
So
taught
now
me
your
that.
youngest students, has anybody graduated yet? Or have you not, if you're
Not that
second and
I
third,
have
so not
seen.
yet, right?
Not
So,
that I
but they're
have
getting ready to, right? Like
correct.
you've got juniors and maybe even seniors, if I'm doing the math right, or juniors.
Kids that I had because those first couple of years I was substituting,
Uh,
yes, it is possible.
so you've got students that may be getting ready to graduate. And so
Mhm.
I wonder if you're ever going to get that call or that email or that, hey, I just wanted to thank you for, because we've heard those stories on this podcast.
And I don't think I'm prepared for that.
What, about just be too emotional for you?
Yes,
That
yes,
would
it
be
would,
pretty amazing. Wouldn't that be incredible? Like, I don't
yes.
know that aside from your own child telling you that, like, mom, thank you so much, but
Mhm.
having one of your students from like second grade one day come back and go, I
That would be
just want to
exciting.
tell you, do you have any way of going back? Do you know, like, of your old teachers that maybe inspired you? Have you ever thought to seek them out and go, I
So
teach now because of you?
in my master's program,
Hmm.
I had an assignment from my coach, an advisor, and that assignment was we were working on my why and all of those kinds of things. And I
Uh-huh.
told a story about this super glam teacher. And so she says, hey, I want you to write a letter to her. What would you say? So I was
Oh,
able to, kind of put all of that into words. And then I took it a step further to go try to find her. And I says, "I wonder, if there's a way to still find her." So, unfortunately, I did find that she had passed, but her
oh,
sister was still living. And so I reached out
okay.
to my siblings and said, "Hey, if somebody like, would it be weird if you received this?" And they're like, "No, because it's
No.
gonna keep her legacy alive." Like,
Oh,
they will
wow.
think, "Wow, my sister was so cool," right? So I never heard back, but I did
Oh,
send the letter. I
okay.
did,
So you did. Well, I
yes.
just got a little goosebumpy. That's a great story. Wow, that's a really neat story. It's unfortunate that she had passed, but it's nice that you took it to the sibling. I'm just trying to I have a brother. So I'm thinking to myself, if that were me, how
Mhm.
would I feel? And I think it'd be really cool to say, if to have somebody go, your brother had a huge, it's why I do what I do today because of your brother. I think that'd be pretty cool.
So
What a
many
great
years
story.
later, decades later to yeah.
Yeah, but what a great story. And so that is what you still love about it. And that's one of the things you still love is the impact
Mhm,
that you have is you will have. And by the way, whether they seek you out or not, no question, right? I mean, you are the light in somebody's day every day, right? I mean, that's what I hear on this podcast. I- I've talked to, I've talked to hundreds of teachers in this new career that I have with Drone Legends, which is why I've got this newfound appreciation for teachers. I never had it. So growing up, I just was horrible, right? And I didn't think about it as I was in my business career. I never gave teachers much thought, right? Even my own sons, I never thought too deeply about it until I was actually working with you guys and intimately involved with you guys in terms of professional development and going to conferences and speaking with you and running workshops. And I just got back from Clark County School District in Nevada. I ran 2 workshops for like combined like 35, 40 teachers. And it was awesome, right? I just love it.
mhm.
And what I've heard, several people, more than one, have said to me, the thing about being a teacher is you don't know what a lot of these kids are going through at home. Um, and they may be having a rough time. And so the profession requires you, whether you might be having a rough day, to get up, show up, because you may be the light that a child looks forward to every day, right? Because the home might not be such a great place. And there's got to be days where you just go, "Oof, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. I'm exhausted. I'm not ready for this today." But you don't have, you shake it, you go and do it, which is
Go and do it. Yeah.
super admirable because you have to be up there, right? You have to be in front of those kids. What what is what has changed that you've kind of like, ugh, this isn't boding well. I'm just kind of curious of what you're seeing in the world today in education.
So I went into education pre-COVID. Was at the tail end of COVID. So I was finishing my degree right when COVID shut everything down. So
Hmm.
as a matter of fact, I was not able to complete my student teaching because we
Hmm.
literally shut down, and we never
Yeah.
that next semester would have been my student teaching semester, and so I was not able to do that. Um, so I did get to see some change, big change that happened because of COVID, and we're still seeing this evolution because of the technology.
Hmm.
And for me, I'm watching it, going, "Wow, this is actually pretty cool to be a part of." But I did have to take a year off because my very first year as a classroom teacher was that first year back from COVID.
Oh, right.
And so we were still hybrid at the time, and just the level of stress and, that it just the toll that it took on me personally, I
Yeah.
knew that I could not give my all. I couldn't be my best.
Okay.
And so I did take a step back. I did take a
Took a
year
year.
off.
And that
And
was in
I
2020.
really
That was the year of COVID or
correct. So this would have
21.
been
Yeah.
21.
21.
And
Right.
I did not think I was coming back.
Hmm.
I really
Oh,
thought that I had made a mistake. This was not for me.
really? Because it was
I
so
couldn't
stressful during that time. It
it
really
was.
was. Looking back, it seems like a long time ago. It wasn't that long ago, but it's hard to believe that it was 4 or 5 years ago already.
Yeah.
I mean, this time 5 years ago, things had just shut down. Like, think
Mhm.
about it, right? Like March, I think everything went kind of quiet, and this was weird time. Like I remember April, May, that just things were just shut down.
Mhm.
We were all like locked in our homes, right?
And unsure of the future. Nobody
We didn't
knew what
know.
was,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I really, I said, well, I think I'll just go back to corporate.
Mm,
Well, maybe I'll just stay home then, that sort of thing. I really started getting down
mm.
and sad about the whole thing. But then I, again, just started running part of the PTA with my daughters. My daughters were now in middle school at that time. And I
Okay.
got involved in PTA and at their middle school, and I started again around these people, and their middle school principal turned out to be someone I went to high school with that
Huh.
we had not spoken to since high school.
Really?
And so
Okay.
when we reconnected, it was, "How are you doing? What have you been up to? What's new? What's going on?" And, told him my story. And he goes, "Hey, I have a para-professional position available. Would you
Mm.
like to come back and do that just to kind of ease back in?"
Yeah.
And it was through that opportunity, I opted not to take that position. I
Mm.
just I needed that. I was volunteering in the classroom,
Uh-huh.
to see if that was something that I was going to wanna do, because I was a lot of PTSD from COVID is
Yeah.
really what it came down to.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah. But
And
today, better today, feeling a little better.
absolutely,
Yeah.
because it
Good.
was
Good.
being able to volunteer and get back in the classroom that kind
Yeah.
of shook that off and said, "Oh, okay, I'm ready now." And
That's
so I
right.
came right back,
Oh,
to the
good.
same charter network that I had left. They were gracious enough to, "Yeah, come on back." And so I came
That's
back,
great.
and I've been there, and I've been here since.
Oh,
And
wow. Cool.
now
That's
it's,
great.
like, I'm recharged, trying new things. You
Uh-huh.
mentioned your drones and that sort of thing. I am starting a brand new coding, robotics, and drone
Oh,
program
nice.
here.
Very good.
This
Well,
will
we'll
be our first
chat. I
summer
can throw
program.
you some pointers, right? We got some ideas for you. That's really fun. Excellent. You're going to love it. So tell me, yeah, I was going to tell me about the kids that you work with. So you're starting this new robotics, coding, drones, and so tell me
Mhm.
about that program.
Sure.
Obviously I'm
So
interested in that kind of a thing.
my my main job is intervention.
Yeah.
That's what
Hmm.
I'm doing. So these are kiddos that have some gaps in their learning and that sort of thing. So we're trying to catch them up.
Yeah.
But on Fridays we have opportunity to. I've been given an opportunity to teach scratch coding to
Mm-hmm.
second, third, fourth, and fifth grade.
Great.
Uh, and it's gone so well. It's kind of recharged me. So my master's degree is in learning and technology. So I did that during
Okay.
COVID since everything was online anyways. And
Yeah.
I did that because I could see I knew exactly as soon as I saw how much the tablets and the Chromebooks, and we now had one-to-one technology, which we
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
not
You
have
had to.
pre-COVID.
Right.
I could see an opportunity for that. So
Mm.
I got a master's degree in this. So when I had
Good
this
for you. Yeah.
opportunity to do Scratch and coding, I said, absolutely, let's do it.
Yeah.
So we
Wow.
kind of
Great.
piloted that this year. And then that led me to find the Lego robotic kits. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I want those. So I've been
Yeah.
fundraising to raise
Oh,
money for that.
good.
And then I found you, and that's how
That's
actually
nice.
how we found the drones. I said, let's do drones. I've never flown a drone, so
Wow.
I'm learning myself.
You are okay. You'll throttle, yaw, pitch, roll. We're gonna get you the right stick, left stick. The left stick's the bad stick. Just remember that left stick's the one that gets everybody in trouble because it yaws, right? So everybody flies and they go, "Whoa, I'm just gonna fly." And next thing you know, the drone's going behind them and they're pushing forward. I always tell people because I was just doing this yesterday with a group of kids at the Delaware Valley Science Fair. So
Mhm.
big science fair, and every year I work with like the local PBS affiliate, and we go in and we get a group of kids and we do workshops with them, and then they go out and do the science fair component. These kids are like bright, and but they all like it's that turn, right? So
Mhm.
when you yaw that drone and you pitch forward, your brain wants the drone to go like forward, but it not forward to it goes the forward to the drone, and that's really. And then when you 180 it, its face, everything's opposite. So you really got to think about it, but they pick it up so quick. The kids do,
I'm
and
hoping.
then they do. They really do. I mean, it's like anything else. You give them the foundation first,
Mhm.
like you give them the fundamental first. Let's talk about what that right stick does. Let's talk about what that left stick does. Okay, now we take off and we're just going to do a little box with no yawing. We're just going to make sure we're just using the right stick. And okay, now at every corner of that box, make a 90-degree turn. And once you can just get them and okay, now let's go up and just do some circles and things like this in a really controlled environment. It's like skiing. I don't know if you've ever skied. I mean, I've been on skis a couple of times, but I remember I went to boarding school in Maine. I was a kid from Virginia, and all the people from like New England once, I'll never forget, they took us on a ski trip. I'd never been on skis in my life. They took us, so I follow all my skiing friends all the way up to the top of the mountain. Well, I had no business being up at the top of the mountain. I'd never been on skis in my life. And so what happened? I rolled down that mountain and never touched skis again, right? It was horrible. It was a horrifying experience. And then years later, I went back. And of course, I got on the bunny trail with an instructor and they showed me just some basic movements. And by the end of that day, I was having fun on like, a moderate slope, an intermediate slope, because I'd learned the fundamentals. That's all drones is. It's just once you can get them into that little zone, then you're good. So congratulations, do it. We'll talk more about the drones. I'll share anything you want to know. You pick my brain. So, so this is great. So I had a question I wanted to ask you. So you work primarily with the interventionists, but Friday you're getting this carve out to do this
Mhm.
kind of fun, what I'll call a
Yes.
STEM program. And how old are those students? Are they all age groups as well? Or are you working with a very specific age group there?
So it's second through fifth grade.
Second through fifth,
Mhm.
which is a broad one. I will tell you this with drones. Fourth grade seems to be kind of like my second graders flying drones. We'll talk. We'll talk. It gets dicey. They just don't quite
So,
yet have the
so
fine motor skills for it.
the drone. Oh, so we're going to start with coding the drones. So
Okay, yeah.
we're not
You're
gonna
just going
free
to
for all.
code it. Right,
Mhm.
right, right. Okay.
Start with
Okay,
that.
good.
And since a lot of them, since they come to me on Fridays for the scratch coding, the block coding,
Yeah. Hmm.
they're going to be familiar with that.
Oh, good.
So
So you'll be
we'll,
fine.
yeah. So they already have that background
So they'll
with
just
that
take
already.
off and watch the
Right.
drone fly.
But
Good call.
for the summer camp, this will be the first introduction to drones. That's only open to third, fourth, and fifth.
That'll be good. That'll be fine. They can pilot a little bit. So
Yeah.
fun. I love the piloting because that's what the kids love to do more than anything is get their hands and fly. And it gets them engaged. And there's also the whole career thing. Like when they think
Right.
about, oh, I could be a drone operator. This would be cool. So we love that
Mhm.
too. And then the coding's all the autonomous component. So we're navigating into the drone world now, but let's go back to, so so you've come back in. You see like you've got a newfound, like COVID gave you a little bit of a little bump there. Okay, you
Mhm,
get through that. Now you're a few years back in. Things feel
mhm.
really good again. What what are you like if you were now just let's imagine because I hear, teacher shortage and we
Right.
know what's going on today. It's a very crazy time in the education space right now. Um, if you were talking to somebody that was like in your shoes back when you were just trying to get started or they were thinking about it, like what would you say to that person now after being able to kind of hindsight's always crystal clear, right?
Right.
But when they're starting out, like what are some of the things you wish somebody would have said to you to avoid some of those proverbial like bear traps that you may have stepped in, right?
Yeah. The first thing is going to be setting boundaries for
Mm-hmm.
yourself, for your family, for your coworkers. Just finding that balance, the work life balance, and setting the boundaries. It's so important to. Uh, One, it's really difficult to see, especially those Pinterest type teachers on
Mm-hmm.
social media, and then try to compare yourself or try to day one be that's the teacher I'm going to be.
Yeah.
So giving yourself a lot of grace is really important.
So I heard
And
boundaries.
boundaries,
And you set
grace,
that up front, right? Because if you give an inch, right, I think that's the key.
correct.
So and these are just this is great to hear this, by the way. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to reflect on something because there's recurring things that happen when I talk to folks on this podcast, and it's clearly boundary setting. Like
Mhm.
don't because you can't go backwards, right?
Right,
It's easy to
right,
ease up a little bit. That's easier. It's like you can't get the toothpaste back in the tube. Once you've
correct.
let them walk on you, they're walking. It's hard to get that back. So the boundary setup is critical in the beginning to establish that with your students and and
And
other
what
people around you.
I found that teachers, we all have a similar personality. And
Hmm.
it's probably why we all gravitate to the profession, but we have this need to accomplish the list. But
Mm.
people coming in need to understand that the list is never ending. It's never going to end. The more you complete, the more gets added to that list,
Hmm.
and it's there is no end. But having this personality of having to, get that gold star, I finished, because we are classic
Yeah.
overachievers, so it's like,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
gonna do
Yeah. Right.
you really have to get a handle on that and step back. This where, giving yourself that grace really
Hmm.
comes in it and just saying it's okay. It's okay that that stays there, because my family needs me, because I can't keep, working through every weekend.
Hmm. Hmm.
You have to take that time to, enjoy life outside of your classroom and just
Right.
try. It's so difficult because you spend so much time. You'll end up spending more time with these children than your own children,
Yeah.
and you grow these connections with them, and it's sometimes difficult to turn it off. And
Hmm.
so it's
Hmm.
so important to find that balance in the very beginning.
Yeah.
My first year, I had, all of my kids were prepping with me while this was family time, and I've got them laminating and cutting, and they're all involved doing the thing,
Nice. Cool.
and and it is, but after a while, it becomes a routine for your family, and
Yeah.
you step back and you say, well, wait a minute, we need to be doing something.
That's not related to my job. Right?
Correct.
Yeah. I get it. I get
And then
it.
also spending money. I was so much of my paycheck was going back into the classroom,
Mm.
and I had to think and take a step back and say, "Those are dollars taken from my girls, from
Yeah.
my family, from, things that I need." "Oh, no, that's okay," and I had to take some advice from veteran teachers. That leads me to the
Yeah.
next thing, is, like, leaning into those veteran teachers. Hey, you
Yeah.
have to just put
Hmm.
a stop to those things, and so, yeah, but also finding community. It is so, so important to your very first day working. You trust that when you interview with your principal, they are gonna hire based on who is gonna fit into their team.
Hmm.
They to have that cohesiveness, on the campus, whatever grade level you're hired for, they're gonna ensure that you fit with everyone else. So trust that you've been hired because of that, like the principal
They saw
sees
the
that.
fit. Yeah,
Correct. So then lean into that,
I like
find your
that.
people, and because that's who I like to say that we have a trauma bond because the year you're going to go through some ups and downs through the year,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and you're going to need each other. And I have had an experience of not getting along with a team member.
Mm-hmm.
And you still, it doesn't matter. You still have to get through and operate, together.
Yeah.
And so
True.
again,
True.
finding your community, day one,
Find your
find your
community
community.
day one.
Mhm.
I like your, so I love these. These are practical, right? So I liked your boundaries,
Mhm.
both at home, and I took it in a different way of with the students, but I think it just all encompassing. What are your boundaries, right?
Everywhere.
So that's
Mhm.
part one I thought was really cool. The other thing you said was this Pinterest thing. And again, that's when I stopped because you're not the first one to say it. It's like, don't compare yourself to that ideal because it
Mhm.
doesn't really exist, right? Let's be real. I mean, that's cherry picked, and
Mhm.
but it's really easy to look at it and think that's what I want mine. And yeah, I've walked into some classrooms and been like, wow, this is
Really
wild,
nice.
right? This is cool. But you'll get there, right? Rome
Right.
isn't built in a day, and you can't do that day one. If you think so, you're going to be it's going to be hard pressed for you to pull anything like that off. And you're just going to set yourself up for disappointment and quote unquote failure. So I think
Mhm.
just give it time, give yourself that grace, understand that you've got time to work into that and you will find lots of different things. And that's like the third part. Find your community, find your mentor.
Mhm.
I've heard mentor a lot. Like I've talked to other teachers who are like, that's my mentor. She took me by
Yes.
under her wing and she told me everything, or he walked me through the halls and and then yes, there's also I heard also watch out for the older vets in the lunchroom because they're just going to be they can be
Any
pessimistic.
negativity,
They
yes.
can be
Yeah, and
negative,
kinda
right?
stay away from that, especially your first year or
Right.
2,
Yeah.
more so
Yeah.
than ever,
It's like not
because
watching the news. It's
it's
kind of
right.
like stay away from the news, right? And it's never good. Just ignore it. Stay away. Find your positive community members, find your
Mhm,
mentor, find the people that are going to lift you up and
mhm.
not want to bring you down into their misery, right? Like just that's what I heard.
And I do wanna add for anybody who's thinking about coming into the profession at a later time, some of my great mentors were my son's age. So if
Right,
you are
right.
older, it doesn't have to work, that way. If
I've
you if
yeah,
your if your veteran teacher is, 17, 18, 20 years younger than you, so be it.
fine. That's fine. It's not an age thing, right? I think it's because I got to tell you, I walked out. Again, I've had just in the last 2 weeks, I've been to like 4 different schools and went and met with the kids in our programs, both the elementary students and then the high schoolers
Mhm.
in Clark County. Just yesterday, working with this group of kids, and it really blows me away. Like, wow, I mean, I could be a teacher. Like, I know that I could be. Like, I know that I have it, and I've heard it. Like, other people, like that's you've got it to be a teacher, and I'm an old dog. I mean, I'm up there. I'm pushing big 6-0, right? And so it's like I could go back though. Like I honestly thought like I could really enjoy doing that. Right? Like I really could enjoy that. And I thought about that. It was just yesterday that I thought about that. It was weird. I was like, okay, I've been talking to these kids. I was like, I get a lot of I'm physically tired because I think of my my age kind of get there, right? I'm tired of like but I'm also mentally so stimulated by it, like so woof, I'm like up. It's kind of like when you're in an athletic competition though. The energy, the adrenaline gets me because I just love working with those kids. So I agree with you. I don't think you have to be a young person to start. I think there might be an opportunity for some of us older folk that are looking to do something different. I mean, look, I pivoted midlife to this. We need good teachers in schools. And going back to your experience of just having raised kids and, you
Mhm,
know, you've got life experience that you bring into the classroom a
mhm.
little older. Maybe one hopes a little more level, right? A little more comfortable with who you are.
Mhm.
Being certainly, I know at my age, being able to set boundaries is a lot easier at 50
Yes.
something than it was at 20 something. But at 20 something, you feel like, who am I to do that? Right. At 50 something, you're like, I've been around. I know exactly what I will and will not tolerate. Right. Like
Exactly.
you reach a point where you just don't care what other people think, really. You're like, this is how we do it here. And it doesn't matter. That's interesting. I haven't really thought of that take before. I like that age thing. And fine, heck, yeah, so great. You got a 28-year-old mentor. Good. You know, you might learn a few things. That'd be cool. I like that. Really good insights. That's cool. I have not thought about that. So let's look at the time. I want to get to something. You know, look, being in this business just 5 years, I've watched COVID. I mean, I literally stepped into this at COVID. So I was starting an after school drone program January 2020. I had perfect timing. And we know what happened, right? And then, but I weathered that and it was fine. And we've done very well since. Now we're in this new thing, right? Now it's this administration, and I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but the reality is anybody could think what they want, but the reality is that there is major disruption happening in the education space from the DOE on down. And
Correct.
it's really easy, I would say, to get kind of either despondent or angry or frustrated. Those are the easy fallbacks. That's our what I'll quote unquote call our lizard brain at work, our fight or flight mechanism. It's easy to kind of fall into that mode. It's always harder to see the silver lining in things or to focus on the positive. And I like to do the latter. I try to train myself to see opportunity because believe it or not, COVID I thought would be my death blow, and it didn't do that, right? Things
Correct.
happened. I learned some things through it. I changed the way I looked at the way I run my business. And so when I go look back on it, I go, oh, that actually, interestingly enough, was an opportunity in disguise. It did
Mhm.
something. And so I try to leave this podcast with an optimistic viewpoint. Like, so that's my question. Long ramble, preamble to say, what makes you excited? What are you optimistic about as it relates to like this space, the education space, teaching profession, whatever it might be? Where do you fall on that?
Yeah, I mean, so like you said, change is inevitable with everything happening, no matter which side of this you sit on. It's inevitable. It's happening. It is happening. It's going to happen. There's going to be
Yeah.
more. I'm optimistic for the opportunity because same thing like you said, I had that opportunity to go on and pursue not only my undergrad but a graduate degree because of COVID. COVID
Mm-hmm.
allowed me to grow personally into this area that I then fell into technology. And now here we are, where I did not even have an idea then. I thought I was just going to be a classroom teacher. So I'm optimistic for more opportunity to grow professionally and personally. Um,
Yeah.
getting into the leg of the robotics and the drones, I don't know where that's going to lead me, but
Right.
I'm optimistic and I'm excited for the
Awesome.
future to see where does this take us? How does this fit into this evolving world?
Yeah. Oh,
Like
cool.
where are we headed to next? And that's exciting. It can be scary, but I think if you go into it looking for the positive, it's so easy to just become focused on the negative. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that just staying positive and saying and just being aware, okay, yes, things are changing, that's okay,
Yeah.
but I don't want to get caught with my head down. I want to be looking forward,
So
and
when
not
you see
miss
what's,
those.
and I agree with you. I love it. Thank you. And I think you're right. You're on the cusp of something fun, interesting, engaging. You're going to watch the students light up when they see the technology that you're going to be
Mhm.
bringing in and working with. It's really going to, it's an amazing way to see how students really become interested in learning because of the technology.
Mhm.
Like they're learning so much, but it's masked under this guise of, because it's fun, it's interesting, right? It's especially if you pull out a drone and the kids are like, I mean, you grab a drone and they're like, what? We're going to be working with that? Cool. And then you've got them, right? I mean, that's the whole reason I started this was like, yeah, I've got you. Now what are we going to do about it?
Right.
As it relates to like when you see what's happening today with like the DOE and all this, is there anything in that? So if we can find a silver lining, is there anything that you can say, hey, look, yeah, this seems tough right now, but maybe there's, I mean, where do you see the silver lining in that, or just wait and see and just stay positive? Is that really what it is? You
You know,
can't
I
control what you
yes,
can't control.
but also remember, that as teachers, we are forever flexible. Sometimes our lesson plans do not work the way we
Mm,
have prepped and planned and practiced even, it just doesn't work. So we're always on our toes, on our, head on a swivel. We got to be looking for, um, if this isn't working,
mm,
we have to pivot on the spot.
yeah,
And so I think we have to apply that to our lives outside of the classroom. Just go, okay,
yeah.
hey, just be prepared. It's going to happen. We know there's going to be change. We know that's not even a
Mm-hmm.
question.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily sit and wait and see, but
Right.
be prepared to react.
Yeah.
But also you can put things into place so you're not just always reactive, where you can be proactive
Very
and to say,
proactive.
okay, we already know ahead of time change is coming. What am I going to do
Mm,
to preserve myself and my everything?
yeah.
What do I need to do? How do I prepare for
Well, you were
change?
very good at that during COVID, right? So you went, okay, so are you doing anything now? Are you preparing anything? Is there anything
I
that you can,
am.
or,
This is
yeah,
this is what has led me to where I am in the technology world,
tech?
because
Mm-hmm.
I'm an interventionist, and I don't want to get into politics at all,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but funding for my position is tied to other funding that may or may not be there. So
We
I'm
don't
not
know.
going
Right.
to sit around and wait to find out. I am going to prepare, and I'm leaning
Uh-huh.
into the degree that I had and how can I
I
grow
like
that
it.
into, and so, okay, well, we've already started this coding. And that's what's caused me. I mean, I reached out to friends and family to help
Mm.
fundraise and fund,
Mm.
this summer program. So I am charging parents
Wow.
for this summer program.
Yeah.
It is sold out. Both weeks have sold out.
Nice. Oh, awesome. Good for you.
And I mean, I kind of put I kind of did it backwards. I put a price on it and then said, okay, what can I purchase with that? If I make this,
Uh-huh. Right, right,
so
right.
as parents have started paying that tuition, I've been purchasing the necessary equipment and that
Great.
sort of thing. And I have a really amazing supportive principal,
Yeah, good.
and the network staff has allowed me to use the campus, and
Great.
use the Chromebooks that we already have, that sort of thing,
Oh, good. Oh, you're
to be
just
able to
getting
do that.
started into this. This is going to be fun. You're going to have a
But
good
we are
time. Well,
brand new.
we'll have to have you back, or we'll have to just have you tag. Yeah, have you back and give us an update and tag us on some stuff and share what you're doing. What we're going to
Absolutely.
do is, I know are you active on social? Are you getting yourself up and running? I know you're starting to,
Yes, so
right?
I'm on TikTok, right? That's how we
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah.
But again, this is why I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone to do this, because I
Good.
really need to start making the videos. Well, and we don't, not necessarily TikToks. We don't know if that's going to be around, but
But
in that
there's
way.
Instagram Reels. I mean, you post
Mhm.
one on TikTok, you post it over on Reels. That's nice. TikTok actually has a STEM feed. You
Yes,
can
and
add a
that's all.
STEM feed to TikTok. Pretty cool, right? So that's pretty neat. And Reels will be there. That's there too. I think YouTube Shorts really
That's
gets
really
good
cool.
popular. That's where you can put some stuff up there. So, and even everybody's kind of, if you look at the social media landscape, everything's TikToked up now. So, like, if you'll notice it, if you're on LinkedIn and you click on a video, you could start scrolling through like you're on TikTok.
Right,
Uh, X, Twitter, same way. Facebook, same way now. You'll just be stuck in this real thing like a TikTok feed.
right.
Once you click on one video, you're in. TikTok's all video, but like if you're in a Facebook feed, click on that video, boom, now you're in a feed. It's crazy. So they're all
Yeah, I
doing
think
it.
that's another thing that I'm doing too, is like, again, coming on here with you and connecting with you, because this is way outside of my comfort zone.
I'm glad
It's
you
also
did.
another thing that I'm doing to be proactive and saying, okay, let me get into the social media, let me get beyond and not wait for the change to happen, but
Yeah.
kind of take a little
Good for
control.
you. I love the incentive. I love it. And thank you for coming here. Because, by the way, you're an amazing guest. I mean, I love what we've been talking about. So, for this being like out of your comfort zone and your first one, this is great. You should do more because you have a lot of knowledge and you really have a really interesting outlook on things. I think some of the perspective you brought in here has been really great. Where are you right now? Are you in your classroom?
I'm in the teacher
I was
workroom.
gonna
That's why you
say
it's
that's the teacher workroom. We got all the bins and stuff behind you
yeah.
there. That's pretty cool. I was like, all right, where are you now? People are always in different backgrounds whenever we talk. It's funny. I'm always curious as to where are you. No, Patty, this has been great. Any parting words you have for anybody out there listening?
So yes, for everybody listening, because I have told a lot of people that I'm doing this, that was keeping myself accountable.
Excellent.
Hey, let's all get out there and try something new, set the fear aside and get out there and try something new.
I love it. Perfect. That's a great. We're gonna end on that note. So, Patty, with that said, get out there, step outside of your comfort zone, try something new. The only thing that is constant is change, right? So change is constant. That's the only thing you can count on. Get out of your comfort zone, try something new, expand your knowledge base, always be learning. These are the kind
Always
of things I love to hear. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on today. We're going to talk in a minute, but this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Shine